All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. Hey, it's Nate with another piano tutorial. Today I'm doing In My Life by the Beatles. Lots of requests for this one, and it is one of my favorites. It's actually not that tricky with the exception of the sped up piano harpsichord solo, but I've got some easier options for that. Let's jump in. Okay, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description. That'll help you follow along and see where the words and the chords line up with each other. Let's start out with the intro. That's of course gonna be the... So the underlying chords are A and E. That's what it says on your chord chart, and if someone was strumming along with you on guitar, that's what they would play. A measure of A major, 2, 3, 4, and then E, 2, 3, 4. We are in 4/4 time. But right off the bat, we need to be thinking in eighth notes, so not just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, but dividing the beat in half, thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the timing of this part's gonna be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, and then you hold it for a measure. So here's the notes and the counts for that. We got C sharp, A, so that's just on beat 1, 2. I'm using my first and fifth finger for there. 1 and 2 and then on every eighth note of the rest of the measure starting on beat 3, we've got C sharp, D, E, and then G sharp and B together. So again, for the fingers, we've got first finger, fifth finger, first, second, third, and then you kind of spread your hand out a little bit, 1 and 5. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. For starters, you could do the bass note of the underlying chord, as I mentioned before. So it would be A, 2, 3, 4, E. The E would hit on the and after 4, just at the same moment that hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So together it would be... Sounds really nice. If we want to get a little bit more of the bass line in there, here's what it's going to sound like. So we're going to play the hands for the first measure. Everywhere you're doing a right hand melody note, you're going to do a left hand bass note. So on 1, 2, it's just A, A. Now here's where we have all those eighth notes in a row. For the very first one, when you're on the C sharp in the right hand, you're going to do one more A, and then for the next two notes, you're going to do D's. A, D, D, and then you're going to hit that E on the and after 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So you skip beat 1 here, but then you can just do 2, 3, 4. And of course, for the intro, this repeats again. 2, 3. There are places. So that is the verse starting. Let's look at that. Okay, so here are the chords for the verse. It's just 4 measures repeated twice. I'm going to show you all the chord shapes, and then I'm going to give you 2 different options for how you might approach the rhythm. First, we've got an A major. So that's A, C sharp, and E. Left hand, first finger can hit an A an octave lower. By the way, this is middle C here, in case you weren't sure about the octave. So we've got A, then we've got E. So I'm doing an inversion on the right hand here where my fifth finger stays on the E, and I've got a G sharp B with the second finger, and then that E, and then my fourth finger in the left hand is playing that E bass note. So now we've got this F sharp minor. I'm going to step up with my third finger to the F sharp here. So this is going to be A, C sharp, and F sharp. Once again, it's just an inversion on a root position F sharp chord. Now we've got this A7 over G. I'm going to voice it like that. So stepping up to the second finger on that G bass note here, and then I've got G, C sharp, and E there. Just a couple more chords here. we've got this D major chord. I'm going to use my fifth finger in the left hand for this low D bass note. We got A, D, and F sharp here. Then we're going to turn that major chord minor just by taking that F sharp down to the F. And of course it goes back to the A. Now most of those measures have two chords crammed into the same measure, so each of those chords gets two counts, like A, 2, E, 4, F sharp minor, 2, A7 or G, 4, D, 2, D minor, 4, A, 2, 3, 4. Although I kind of lied about that second measure. The F sharp minor to the A7 over G, it actually goes to the A7 over G an eighth note early. So we got to be thinking again, counting the ands. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So it just kind of anticipates there. So just holding out the chords, the line would sound like, there are places I remember all my life, though some have changed. And then it repeats around, some forever, not for better, 2 and 3. Just different words, of course. Let's add a little bit more rhythm. In the right hand, I'm just going to pulse on every quarter note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just that one measure here. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So you're not going to hit on beat 3 on that measure. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever. So one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more rhythm in my left hand to mimic the feel of the bass. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. The rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. You can sometimes do and 3, or you could just do the and sort of feel it that way. So feel it out. Paul doesn't play it the same way every time. Some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. Okay, of course, now we're going to the next section. But before we do, I want to give you one other option for the right hand rhythm that's actually a little closer to the feel of the Beatles recording, but just is a little trickier to do on the piano. It's going to sound like this. So it's mimicking John's sort of lazy rhythm guitar that it's not totally precise. It's sort of a little bit different the way he feels it. But the overall feel is to hit on 2 and 4 with the right hand chords. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Of course, making an exception for the and 3, 4. But it goes a little deeper. He does this sort of grazing, lazy, strummy thing. So you can just kind of like roll your hand up lowest to highest notes. Not there, but maybe there. And there's also a little bit of playing that he does. Sometimes it's the full chord. Sometimes it's just a single note from the chord on the and after each of those hits. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So I kind of gravitate towards doing the bottom note, but you can do and just kind of mix it up like that. And sometimes for the 4 and, he doesn't strum the whole chord on 4. He might just do 1 or 2 notes from that chord. So like maybe on the F sharp minor to 1, 2, and 3, 4, and maybe just single notes there. And also at the end where you have the full measure of A for the all my life, though some have changed, some for, you know, maybe just single notes there. But be loose with it. If that feels overwhelming or too tricky, you should totally just go with the first one, which lends itself really easy to piano, and I think still sounds great. All right, so next up we have the chorus, or you could call it the middle 8. For this, either way, whether I'm doing the first or the second rhythm option for the verse, I'm going to play this chorus the same way. Here's the chords for that. It's mostly chords we've already done in the verse, and you'll notice that most of them just last a full measure. So it starts right out with that F sharp minor, and I'm going to just be doing this whole time for the chorus the quarter note pulse in the right hand. So we've got F sharp minor. Now this is important though. For this measure, I am not going to do that extra rhythm in the left hand. Things do kind of chill out here for a sec. All these places have their... Now to the D, just like we did it before. Moments. You could throw in a little offbeat stuff there. With lovers and friends. So here's a G major chord. Came up to the G with my second finger, and then B, D, and G here using second finger because of the inversion shape. So G, 2, 3, 4, back to A. I still can recall some are, okay, another F sharp minor, dead and some are. So here's our first B major. In the left hand, I'm just gonna have to stretch my thumb up just a tiny bit to hit this B bass note here. And we just got B, D sharp, and F sharp. Living 2, 3, 4 in my life. So just like the D minor from the verse, I've loved them all. Pretty easy. After that, we've got an interlude. So just like the intro, except it only does it once before going into another verse. Then we have another chorus. Then we have the piano solo. So I want to say up front, I'm going to give you a few different options for this, but none of them are note for note the two-handed Bach-inspired extravaganza as written and played by George Martin on the recording. It requires incredible left-hand dexterity and multitasking. George Martin even made it easier for himself to play it by tracking it at half speed and speeding the tape up, which is why the final version sounds kind of funky and a lot of people thought it was a harpsichord. There are other YouTube videos and sheet music transcriptions if you want to learn the full thing. And if you can pull that off, you are a better piano player than I am and probably don't need to be watching my videos. So the first option here is to not play the solo at all and just recognize that the underlying chord progression of this solo section is the verse. So you can just play an instrumental pass through the verse. Maybe you have a guitar player that's going to do a solo, or you can hum it to yourself, which might be kind of fun. But I'm going to give you kind of an easier version where the left hand does those bass notes. So starts off with left hand hitting an A, and then in the right hand we've got A, B, C sharp, A. Just stepping up to the C sharp and then skipping back down. And we need 16th notes, so dividing the beat in 4, thinking 1 E and a 2 E and a. The rhythm there is 1 E and a 2 E and a. Now the left hand bass note is going to move to E. At the same time, you go up to E in the right hand. E, B, E, B. Those are all 8th notes. 3 and 4 and. So I like doing 5, 2, and then just making a stretch here to your first finger and back up. So again, that first measure. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Okay. Also, the E is bolded there because this is where you can do the little decoration, the trill. Actually, I think it's called a mordant. If you're classically trained and you know the correct word for that kind of decoration, there's a bunch of them here. I'll just bold them all. But each time you have one of those, you could just go step down and step back up really fast. But it's hard to do full speed, and I'm going to leave it out, but I wanted to point it out in case you want to add them. Okay, so after that measure, we go to the F sharp, and we've got F sharp, G sharp, A. I'm using 2, 3, crossing under to 1. 1 E and 2 E and so C sharp on the and there. That one is bozo. If you want to do the mordant, you can step down to a B real fast, and then here's where the left hand G hits. I'm going to cross my right hand thumb under to D, E, G, and those are just 8th notes. Here's what we've got so far. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4 and... Okay. This part is really cool. So we're going to go down to a D bass note here. So all of this is going to be 16th notes, or for the most part, this. And you can kind of see the pattern there already. It's a lot of F sharps. You're going F sharp, E, F sharp, D. So it's F sharp and then stepping down, you know, in the key of A that we are basically in. So 1 E and a 2 E and a, and then you're gonna hit D again when you hit B. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. We're gonna kind of just collapse the hand down a little bit, and 5, 3, 1. I'm gonna do it's F, D, B. Those are on the 8th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and. So the next measure is really similar, but instead of that shape, we're going to come to this basically an A major shape, and the note that gets repeated at the top a lot is an E, and we're stepping down D, C sharp, B, A. Again, A, E, D, E, C sharp, E, B, E, A. So the A's connect there, and then we got E, C sharp, B on those final 8th notes. Okay, then the progression repeats around a second time. Here is the second line of it. So it is the exact same. So we're halfway through here. So here's where it's different, and I'm gonna keep it a little bit simplified at first. We've got E, C sharp, D, E, C sharp, A. Let's stick with that chunk for a minute. Because the stepping up to D there, it's a triplet 30-second note. It's even faster than those 16th notes. 1, triplet, 3, and if that's too fast for you, you can totally skip the D, and it would just be 1, 2, and 3, and. So that makes it a little easier. And I'm gonna stop using my first finger on that A for now, because that next note is an E. And we've got a G sharp, A, and then you can do a lower A there if you want. Da, 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 bow, before going into the next chorus. But if you really want to challenge yourself, and you are someone who has done a lot of scales work and you know how to move up and down the A major scale, instead of just going A, bum, you can do A, da, 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 bum. It's 30-second notes. Happens really fast. It's tricky. Totally optional if you're doing a cover of this song, but I wanted to show you how to do that. So the simple version of this last measure would be, though I know I'll never, just going into that verse. And the trickier version would be, though I know I'll. So before we move on, I'm just gonna play through that whole solo one more time slowly, and I'm gonna do the easier option for that last measure. I know I'll never lose it. So then we are in another chorus. Then we have another interlude section, which is just one pass through the 2, 3, before we have the ending. In my life. So here's the chords for the ending. It's just one measure of D minor. Well, you can let it ring out a little extra. In my life. And then I love you more. So this A to the E here is you're gonna play it like the interlude or the intro. So that's landing on the E. but there's this little extra thing here that goes. So after the da 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 da, for the E7, you just add that D in, and we've got this little melody here on the top notes. Ba da da, back and forth between G sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and then finally landing on an A. But this is an inversion on the A we've been doing. We're taking the A and putting it up an octave higher. So 1, 2, 5 for the fingers there, C sharp, E, and A. So again, this whole ending section would be, in my life, I love you more. And then the song is over. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. I am now going to do a full playthrough so you can see how all these parts fit together. And I know I gave you 2 different rhythm options for the verses, so I'm going to do the first verse with option 1 and the second verse with option 2. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. Also, leave a request in the comments. Okay, here's my version of In My Life. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments. Lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you, and these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. Stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more.